Good morning, good afternoon, good evening. Hey, welcome back to another Filling Station service. I'm your host, Pastor Matthew, and we're excited to kick off on another week of our series called Game Over. You just met some of the team, and now we're going to get Crafty Kevin started with your craft for today.
Hey kids, Crafty Kevin here. Hey, are you ready to get started with today's craft? Alright, well, today we're learning about how God guided and protected the Israelites while he was leading them through the desert and through the wilderness. So, God guided them by using a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. So guess what we're going to draw? We're going to draw a pillar of cloud and then a pillar of fire. So first let's start with the cloud. You're going to want like a bluish color, and you're going to just kind of draw some swirlies for like a cloud, alright? Are you ready? Alright, there's my pillar of cloud. And then on the back of your paper, you're going to draw your pillar of fire. Alright, you see that? So here's what we got to remember is that God will always guide us and protect us. And for the Israelites, he gave them a physical sign for them to follow. But sometimes we just got to listen for God's voice and allow him to speak to us on a daily basis. And he will guide us and protect us as we go through our lives. Alright, that's all I got for today. Crafty Kevin, I'll see you next time.
Thanks, Crafty Kevin. Hey, boys and girls, has anyone ever asked you what's up? Well, today we are going to learn how you can respond to that statement using a phrase from today's lesson. So here is Luigi to tell you what's up.
Hey kids, it's me, Luigi, here to tell you once again what's up. As we've been learning about the story of Moses, we learned how God sent 10 plagues on Egypt to set the Israelites free. But now that they have that new freedom, what do? It's not like they have an old home to return to or anything. It's just like what would happen if me and Mario saved Princess Peach and then just said, here you go. Oh, and then we just left her. We wouldn't do that, obviously, and God didn't do that to the Israelites either. God wanted to guide them and protect them. And so God guided the Israelites through the desert and the wilderness using a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. And can you imagine that? To fire all the way from the ground to the sky? That'd be pretty amazing, wouldn't it? Well, God guided the Israelites, and he took them on a path that might not have made the most sense to you or me, but God had the Israelites learn some lessons while they were in the desert, and he kept them safe. And it's important to remember that he guided them and protected them the whole time. So, anytime, and I mean anytime, someone asks you, what's up? You tell them, God guides and protects. Alright, that's all I got for today. We'll see you next time.
Alright, who can tell me what's up? That's right, God guides and protects. Today we're learning about how God will guide us and protect us through our lives. We're going to be talking about how God guided the Israelites through the wilderness using a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. It's going to be quite an awesome story as we learn how God is almost like our own personal GPS. If we follow him and listen for his voice and draw close to him, he will guide us and protect us and take us exactly where we need to go. That's such an amazing thing to think about. Let's open up this service with a quick word of prayer. Father, I ask that you would challenge our hearts, God. Help us to remove anything that gets in the way from listening to you. God, help us to see that you want to guide us and protect us in everything that we do, and that you have a special purpose and plan for our lives. We ask that in your holy and mighty name. Amen. All right, here is a silly story from my childhood that's going to relate a little bit to today's lesson.
And now it's time for Silly Stories with Pastor Matthew, the part of the show where Pastor Matthew comes out and shares a silly story.
Okay, so if I wanted to get to northern Iowa, I would take this road here and then...
Oh, hey guys, just taking a look kind of back at the olden days. See, when I was a kid, whenever we'd plan out road trips, my parents would always get out like our atlases or maps and stuff, and they would look at all the different roads that we'd have to take while we were on the road trip. Luckily, that's a thing of the past. See, today we're learning about how God guides us and protects us. God can kind of almost be like our own personal GPS. See, now when we go on road trips, we plug a destination into our phones, and our phones can take us right where we need to go. It's a pretty awesome experience. I'm sure that you've seen your parents do it before. Anytime they need to get somewhere they haven't been before, they just put the destination in their phone, and their phone can guide them around road work. It can tell them when there's an accident. And just like that, God will guide us in our lives and help us to see his his purpose fulfilled, and he can guide us and protect us from different roads that might cause trouble in our lives. It's a pretty cool experience, but all we have to do is listen and follow after God's voice.
This has been Silly Stories with Pastor Matthew. Tune in next time to hear another silly story.
What a silly story. All right, well, hey, let's not waste any time. Here is Global Gabby with our Missions Minute for this week.
Good morning, kids. This is Global Gabby here, coming to you again today to talk to you about our country, Honduras. Yes, sirree. That's pretty flag, see right there, blue and white with them 5 stars. Pretty thing. Now listen, today we're going to talk about Honduras and their food. Now listen, whenever they have company come over, like we do down here in the South, well, we ask them if they'd like something to drink. And do you know what they serve them? Juice or coffee. Yep, juice or coffee. Just like we would here. Now, that's pretty normal, right? For us. Now listen, if their guests stay long enough, do you know they invite them to stay and eat dinner? You know what a popular meal is there in Honduras? It's a stew called tapado. That's right. It's made with beef, veggies, and coconut milk. I'm not real sure why they're using that coconut milk, but maybe that's just what they have available instead of cow's milk, although they do use beef. I don't know. But anyway, they've got a good old stew there they make up for their guests. And some other food that they have that's pretty common there is rice, corn, and beans. Well, that sounds a lot like America, right? Well, I say let's go on a trip. But listen, until we can go on that trip, we need to pray for those missionaries. We need to give with our buddy barrels now. Fill them up. Bring them in every week. That's all right. We'll empty it and send it on back home with you again. And also, let's go tell others about Jesus, because this country needs to hear about Jesus. All right now, you have a good day.
Thanks, Global Gabby. Hey, boys and girls, giving to missions is so important, and I want to challenge you. We still have our goal of raising $1,500 by the end of the year, and I think that with your help, we can do it. All you got to do is just search under the seats of the car for loose change, search under your couch cushions, ask your parents if you can do chores, and put all of that in your buddy barrel, and then that money will go to missionaries around the world so that boys and girls can hear about who Jesus is. All right, here is Vanellope von Schweetz with our memory verse for today.
Hey kids, it's me, Vanellope von Schweetz. Well, as you know, I like racing, but sometimes there are some slow people on the track. Of course, I pass them each time, but maybe we should read the verse in slow motion today so no one misses it.
Trust in the Lord with all your heart, and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5.
You know, today we're learning about how God guides and protects us. When the Israelites were set free from Egypt, where were they supposed to go? Well, God had a plan. He sent a pillar of cloud in the distance by day and a pillar of fire by night. All the Israelites had to do was follow. How many of you think it would be hard to follow something when you have no clue where it was going? I know I would. Plus, I know in my super fast race car, I could probably go faster if I just knew where I was headed. But the Israelites had to trust God and follow Him to where He would lead, just like our verse says. So let's stand up and say it one more time together. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Proverbs 3:5. All right, that's all I have for today. I'll see you next week.
Thanks, Vanellope. Hey, let's read that memory verse one more time together. It says, trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. Boys and girls, today we're talking about how when the Israelites were out in the desert, they had to trust God as He led them. And while they were out in the wilderness, they were following God through what was a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. So we're going to use this vase here to represent what would be a pillar of cloud. And see, whenever God would move this pillar of cloud or pillar of fire, the Israelites had to pick up and they had to follow. See, God wants to guide us and protect us everywhere that we go, and we have to be ready to follow him. So let's go ahead and let's light this candle to have this vase represent the pillar of fire now. See, this plate right here is going to represent the Israelites. See, the Israelites would wait, and God would come and rest over what was called their tabernacle. And their tabernacle was like a portable tent, and it was where they would hold kind of their church and all of their sacrifices and everything. And when God would move that pillar of fire, the Israelites had to be ready to go with him. So, whenever God would pick up and move, the Israelites would follow him wherever he would lead them. Just as the pillar moved, they would go with him. Isn't that amazing? That God will guide us and protect us wherever we go. We just have to choose to follow after him. All right, let's think about that as we go into this time of praise and worship.
Hi kids, it's Computer Chloe, and I'm coming at you with some Just Praise 2020 worship warm-ups. I need everybody to stand up on their feet. We're going to stretch our arms out, and we're just going to kind of do whatever this is. All right, and now we're going to do some kicks. Pull your knee up and kick, knee up and kick, knee up and kick, knee up and kick. All right, you are ready to worship Jesus today.
Coming here, you're the reason we're gonna sing. You're everything we could ever want. You're everything we could ever need. You're the reason we're coming here. You're the reason we're gonna sing. We're shouting out loud from the rooftop. We won't be quiet. We're falling for your heart and we can't stop. We won't deny. Everything we could ever want, you're everything we could ever need. You're the reason we're coming here. You're the reason we're gonna sing. You're everything we could ever want. You're everything we could ever need. You're the reason we're coming here. You're the reason we're gonna say. We're shouting out loud from the rooftop. We won't be quiet. We're falling for your heart and we can't stop. We won't deny it. We're shouting out loud from the rooftop. We won't be quiet. We're falling for your heart and we can't stop. We won't deny it. We won't be quiet. We won't be quiet. We won't be quiet. We won't be quiet. We're shouting out loud from the rooftop. We won't be quiet. We're falling for your heart and we can't stop. We won't deny it. We're shouting out loud from the rooftop. We won't be quiet. We're falling for your heart and we can't stop. We won't deny it.
In today's Minecraft Bible story, we're learning about the pillar of cloud and the pillar of fire found in Exodus 13 and 14. As the Israelites were finally set free from the Egyptians, they finally began their journey in the desert to the Promised Land. However, they did not know where to go, and that's where God came in and he guided them. God guided the Israelites using a pillar of cloud by day and a pillar of fire by night. God guides and protects us, and He will lead us exactly where He wants us to go.
Today we're learning that God guides and protects. See, the Israelites have finally reached their freedom, but now where would they go? They finally are free from the Egyptians, and we learned that last week as the Israelites fled Egypt, God guided them using a pillar of cloud and a pillar of fire by night. It was pretty amazing. God was guiding them through the wilderness everywhere that they would go. However, sometimes the path didn't really seem to make sense, at least not to us and especially not to Pharaoh. See, if you remember right, God led them not through the easiest path to where they needed to go, but He actually took them down by the Red Sea. And when Pharaoh saw them, Pharaoh was so confused. He's like, what is going on? Why? They don't know where they're going. He decided to go after them, and he wanted to bring them back to be slaves in Egypt again. But why would God lead them to the Red Sea just so that Pharaoh could come after them once again? See, God was guiding them. God was guiding them in the desert. He was their ultimate guide, almost like a GPS. He was telling them where to go. They were following this pillar of cloud and this pillar of fire. I want you to imagine a cloud that touches all the way from the sky all the way down to the earth. That'd be pretty sweet, right? And then at night it turns into fire so that they can still see and they can follow God wherever He's leading them. See, boys and girls, God was guiding them, and the path might not have made the most sense. However, God was protecting them along the way. God knew that if they took the easy route, the quick route, that they'd run into some dangerous people and they'd have to fight some dangerous armies. And He knew that if they faced war, they would probably turn back and go to Egypt. God was protecting them from that. But He brought them to what appeared to be a dead end right at the edge of the Red Sea. And when Pharaoh's army came coming after them, they were all freaking out. They thought that they were going to die. But that is when that pillar of fire, it says here in Exodus 14:19, it says, the pillar of cloud also moved from in front of them and stood behind them, coming between the armies of Egypt and Israel. So this pillar of cloud that was standing in front of them actually raced back behind them, and it blocked Pharaoh's army from being able to attack them. And that's when Moses turned around, he lifted his staff over the Red Sea, the water parted, and they were free from the Egyptians. See, God was not only using this pillar of cloud and pillar of fire to guide them, but He was also using it to protect them. He protected them from Egypt's mighty army. But now that they've crossed over the Red Sea, do you think that God just doesn't have a plan for them? Do you think that God's plan is just to keep them safe if someone attacks? Or do you think that God's going to continue to guide them? See, God continued to guide them in the wilderness. God wanted them to learn some lessons, so He took them on a route that to us still wouldn't make sense, but God knew exactly what He was doing. It says in the book of Numbers that this is how God continued to guide them. It said, the cloud covered them, and at night it looked like a fire. Whenever the cloud lifted from above the tent, see, the cloud would rest upon the tabernacle, or it was almost like their portable church that they would build whenever they'd set up camp. And then whenever it would lift from the tent and move, the Israelites would pick up their camp and they would follow wherever God was leading them. See, God had a plan for them. God was going to get them to the promised land. But He also knew that they needed to learn some lessons along the journey. See, God knew that the Israelites needed to learn how to trust Him and obey Him. But that was a little bit easier said than done. Especially when you're wandering in the wilderness for a long time, especially when you're taking a path that doesn't seem to make sense. But God had a plan. God wanted to show them who He was. He wanted them to fully rely and trust in Him. And boys and girls, God has a plan for you. Today I want to ask you a really important question. Are you going to let God be the guide of your life? See, that doesn't mean that God's going to necessarily come down like a pillar of cloud and lead you every step of the way. But if you're seeking after Him and following His voice will lead you where you need to go. See, when I was in high school, I remember a time when I knew that I wanted to become a pastor someday. And I was kind of at this crossroads moment, a moment where I had to make a choice as to whether or not I wanted to go off to Bible college or whether or not I wanted to stay at home and take classes and do internships right here at the church. And you see, boys and girls, in my head, it all made more sense to go off to Bible college. That completely made more sense to me. But the more I prayed about it, the more I felt like God was telling me I needed to stay here. And had I not stayed here, my life would look completely different. I probably wouldn't be in this role today. I probably wouldn't be with Miss Hannah. Things would look a lot different than what they do now. But the point is when I heard God's voice, I let him be my guide. I let him guide me, and he's protected me along the journey, and he's gotten me right where he wants me to be. And I promise you that if you follow after him and listen for his voice, he will do the same thing for you. So are you willing to say this morning or today that I am going to let God be my guide? If that's you and you say, I want God to be my guide, let's all stand up and let's sing this song together and let's worship him and tell him how he is a good father and thank him that he guides us and protects us. And then let's begin to ask him, God, what are you guiding me to do right now in my life? And maybe he'll begin to reveal things that maybe someone that you need to share Jesus with, or maybe he'll begin to tell you about your future and what he wants you to do. Just like what happened to me when I was in high school and I felt like God told me I needed to become a pastor someday. See, boys and girls, it's our job to listen and follow God's voice. It's his job to guide us and to protect us. Let's sing this song to him in worship.
I've heard 1,000 stories of what they think you're like, but I've heard the tender whisper of love in the dead of night, and you tell me that you're pleased and that I'm never alone. You're a good, good father. It's who you are. It's who you are. It's who you are. And I'm loved by you. It's who I am. It's who I am. It's who I am.
Father, I thank you for this time that we've had together today. God, I ask that you would continue to guide us and protect us in every day of our lives. Let us hear your voice and follow after it. God, let us know your voice so well that when we're following it, it's as clear as a pillar of cloud or a pillar of fire, God, that we just know that we're following after you in each and every moment. We ask that in your holy and mighty name. Amen. Wow, what an amazing service that we've had today. Boys and girls, I hope that you will always remember to let God guide you and protect you in everything that you do. Let's choose today to follow after him. Thanks for tuning in today.